Good morning, students. Hope you will be fine at your respective places. In continuation to our topic, that is the transporting plants, we were discussing how the water transports from the roots, from the soil, then into the roots, then from the roots to the aerial parts of the plant. Now, how this water moves, for that we have discussed. There are the two process. First one is the absorption of water, and which we have already discussed, and second one is the ascent of sap. In ascent of sap, how this water from the roots, जो cortex है, इससे from the root cortex, how this water is transported या upward movement कैसे हो जाती है, this is called as the ascent of sap. It takes place, या there are various factors which are responsible for this. First one is the root pressure, जो हमने ऑलरेडी डिस्कस किया इन द लास्ट वीडियो. एंड रूट प्रेशर हमने देखा कि दैट दिस क्रिएट्स column, water column up to from the soil up to 2-3-5 centimeters. So this water जो हम देखते हैं कि इससे जो हम water up हो जाता है, not up too much height but up to 2-3 या 4 centimeters above this what we call as this soil. And this root pressure जो है mainly वहाँ पर हम क्या देखते हैं कि जो this water, it pumps this water, rather it creates a pressure in the cortex. It creates a pressure जहाँ पर हम ये देखते हैं कि when the transpiration does not take place, when the stomata are closed, transpiration does not take place, this water, it creates a sort of pressure, and then it pumps the water to a minimum हम कहेंगे distance, not too much high, and this is completely passive movement. Now second one जो हमारे पास अब आता है ascent of sap में, जो second factor which is responsible for that, that is the transpiration pull. Transpiration pull. Now what here we will see we are mainly concerned with this transpiration. What do you mean by the transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water from the aerial parts of the plant through stomata in the form of water vapors. अगर हम गटेशन में देखते हैं, where water is lost in the tiny droplets of water through hydrothodes, लेकिन यहाँ पर हम क्या देखते हैं कि water is lost in the form of water vapors through stomata. Now, in order to understand this transpiration, we have to first try to discuss the structure of the stomata. We have got two types of the plants, dicot plant, and we have got second one, monocot plant. Chalo, let us take in case of dicot plant how the structure looks like. In dicot plant, the stomata, it is covered by the gourd cells. These gourd cells are bean shaped. On the outer side, the wall is somewhat thin, लेकिन जब हम inner side की देखते हैं, it is somewhat thick. These are the gourd cells. These are gourd cells. This is the stomata. Yes, stomata. And these gourd cells, they are surrounded by the subsidiary cells. Subsidiary cells, and these are subsidiary cells. Now what happens in case of the monocot plant? अगर वहां पर हम देखेंगे कि जो स्ट्रक्चर कैसा होता है स्टोमेटा का, जो गॉड सेल्स का, their structure is somewhat dumbbell shape. like this structure. And again, what we will see, these are the God cells. This is the stomata. Again, here again, what we will see, the stomata in the inner side, it is somewhat thicker. And again, they are surrounded by these God cells, these subsidiary cells. These are subsidiary cells. Now, these subsidiary cells, these God cells, they are the only cells in the epidermal region which contains the chloroplasts. So they also contain chloroplasts. These dot-like structures, they are the chloroplasts. Only epidermal layer cells in the epidermis, they are this, what we will call as this, these are chloroplasts. Now, what happens? We know that how this stomata open, how the stomata close. When these God cells, they are turgid, that means इसकी opening जो है, it mainly depends upon this endoosmosis, how the water moves from, how this cell, these God cells, they become turgid. So what happens there? These God cells, they take in sodium ions and potassium ions from the subsidiary cells, and that actively, that is with the help of the energy, they take the potassium ions and the potassium ions from these subsidiary cells inside. Now, as we move, as these ions move, the water inside this God cell, it becomes, your solution, it becomes hypertonic, and this subsidiary cell, it becomes hypotonic. Now we know that water moves from hypotonic solution to hypertonic solution. When the water moves from subsidiary cells to this God cell, it swells up, it becomes turgid. When it becomes turgid, this God cell, what we'll see, it opens. Now this God cell, it actively, it loses, it sends back these potassium ions, and then this God cell, it becomes hypotonic cells, and these hypertonic cells, and the subsidiary cells, they become hypertonic cells, and water moves from this God cell to this subsidiary cell, and this stoma, it becomes flaccid, ये flaccid बन जाता है, and then it closes, no water enters. So opening and closing जो है, that takes place in such a way. Also, there are also inside these God cells, there are readily arranged like these cellulosic microfibrils, which are readily arranged, which also helps us in the, these are cellulosic microfibrils, which helps us in the cellulosic microfibrils, that also helps us in opening of the stomata. Now stomata opens. Now how this water, because we have not to discuss the structure, but we are going to discuss this transpiration pull, how this water gets transpired, how this water is moved upward. This was the structure. Now what happens in transpiration pull? Two forces are there which are responsible for. First one, cohesive and adhesive attraction forces. Now what happens in the cohesive force? First one, it is the attraction between the two similar molecules. attraction between two similar molecules, and this adhesive is the attraction, a force of attraction between two dissimilar, two different rather, molecules. Now what are their two similar molecules? कौन कौन से यहाँ पर है जहाँ पर क्वेश्चन हो जाता है? These are water and water molecules, and here water and lignin. Xylem vessels की जो walls होते हैं, there is the deposition of lignin, and this lignin has a great affinity. It attracts water towards itself. So there is the attraction with this. Now I will try to show you this by a simple example. Diagram. If this is the lumen, very good, xylem vessel, and here what we will see, this is this bluish layer, it is the lignin deposition. This is the lignin deposition. Now what we will see, for example, these are water molecules there, reddish. Now we know that this lignin has great affinity with water. It attracts this water molecule towards itself and it moves it upwards. But this water molecule, it has got the cohesive attraction with this water molecule. ये इसको भी अपने साथी को भी अपने साथ ले जाता है. In this way, इस तरीके से this lignin की अगर हम बात कर लेंगे, it has got affinity, it attracts this body, its water molecule को attract कर लेता है और इसको ऊपर की ओर खींच लेता है. लेकिन that is this adhesive force, adhesive attraction. लेकिन this water molecule, it has got the cohesive attraction. किसके साथ? With another water molecule. ये इसको भी खींच के ऊपर लेता है. In this way, water जो है ये थोड़ा बहुत ही ऊपर चला जाता है. This is one. It is one. Go is transpressure pool में what we will see, this cohesive and adhesive attraction. Cohesive में हम देखते हैं कि there is the attraction between the similar molecules, that is water and water. In the adhesive there is the attraction between the two different molecules, that is the water and lignin. Now one more is there. What is that? What is that? That is the capillary. That is capillary pore. The second, which helps us in the transpiration pore. Now see, I will show you with an example. If this is the water in a beaker, water level is there. Now in this water beaker, what we see in this water, we put down, हम इसमें क्या डालते हैं? 2 स्ट्रा. लेकिन एक स्ट्रा का जो है diameter, it is less, which is thin, and another one is thick. For example, this is the thin wall. ये thin wall, पतली वाली कैपिलरी ट्यूब है, यह स्ट्रा हमने डाला. And another one जो मैंने डाली, it is somewhat thick, ये मोटी है इससे. What we will see, the water will move up in both strata. इस स्ट्रा में भी पानी ऊपर चढ़ जाएगा, इस स्ट्रा में भी पानी ऊपर चढ़ जाएगा. लेकिन what we will see, जो हम फिजिकली देख लेंगे, जो ये वाली स्ट्रा है which is thin, इसमें पानी ज्यादा ऊपर आ जाएगा. As compared to that, इसमें हम देखेंगे कि जो लेवल ऑफ वाटर होगी वो थोड़ी बहुत नीचे होगी. इसमें वाटर की लेवल जो होगी थिन वाले में ये ऊपर होगी, इसमें जो थिक है ये थोड़ी बहुत नीचे होगी. Now if we draw the xylem vessels, this is one xylem vessel, this is another xylem vessel, अब जो इनमें जो क्रॉस वॉल्स हैं दे गेट डिसॉल्व्ड। अब यहां पर हम क्या देखते हैं कि साइड में हम क्या देखते हैं कि दे हैव दिस लिग्निन डिपोजिशन, यहां से भी हैं और यहां से भी होंगी। नाउ व्हाट वी विल सी, अब जो ल्यूमिन अंदर से बचता है इट इज वेरी मच थिन। अब जो पानी होगा व्हेन विच फ्रॉम द जाइलम, रूट जाइलम से इट इज पुश्ड अप, ये ज्यादा ऊपर चल जाए बिकॉज इट इज नॉट टू मच थिक, ये इतना वाइड नहीं है, इट इज समवट नैरोवर, इट इज समवट, इट एक्ट्स एज अ कैपिलरी ट्यूब एंड वाटर इट इज मूव अपवर्ड्स, ये ज्यादा ऊपर चल जाएगा एंड इट फॉर्म्स ए वाटर कॉलम अपवर्ड्स। नाउ दिस ट्रांसपिरेशन पुल का, नाउ इन दिस ट्रांसपिरेशन पुल 2 थ्योरीज हमने देख ली। जो ल्यूमिन है इट एक्ट्स एज ए थिन कैपिलरी ट्यूब, ये थिन कैपिलरी एंड द वाटर जो है इट इज मूव्ड अपवर्ड्स। नाउ वन मोर डायग्राम, this is the root here etc. Now these are the branches, let us say it is the leaf. Now this xylem जो है xylem vessels they form, water is अंदर चला गया through the root pressure। अब xylem में पूछा from xylem it forms a capillary, it moves this way, it moves this way, it branches here through the midrib and then here again it branches like this। अगर आपको पता होगा रिगार्डिंग द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द लीफ, दिस इज द अपर एपिडर्मिस, then we have got the palisade cells which are compactly arranged, then we have got after the spongy cells which are loosely arranged, spongy cells which are loosely arranged, and we have got this what we call as the vascular bundle, and then we have got here this lower epidermis, we have got this lower epidermis, this lower epidermis is somewhat, हम क्या देखेंगे, there is this stomata again, this is xylem vessels, phloem vessel, and these are xylem vessels. Now what happens when the water जो है it moves upwards by this cohesive force, by this capillary pull, it moves upward from these branches, it reaches up to this. Now up to this it does not, जो यहाँ पर जो वैक्यूम है xylem vessel तक ये पहुंच गया। xylem vessel से हम क्या देखते हैं कि it is open, ये वेसल है xylem vessel, जो कैपिलरी रिएक्शन है यहाँ से पानी ऊपर आ गया, यहाँ से ओपन है and now the water comes out due to the heat, humidity, heat की हम वजह temperature high, this water it converts into the water vapor and it comes into this space and then it comes out through this stomata, water vapors, and then these are the gases, they move when the stomata is open, ये loss हो जाता है। Now when this process is continuous, what we will see like this, water is in this, we have got the सिट्रा में खुद ब खुद पानी यस लेवल तक आ जाएगा लेकिन इससे ऊपर खुद नहीं चलेगा। लेकिन what we will see when we suck this, what this suck, जो हम sucking करते हैं, it removes the air from this portion and the water moves up and then we drink the water। that this creates a suction pull. Same is the case here. When this water, it converts in the water vapor due to the heat, it comes out and it जो ये क्या कर लेता है, ये रिमूव पूरा का पूरा जो यहाँ पर एयर है, जो गैस है, इसको रिमूव कर लेता है. दिस क्रिएट्स ए सक्शन एंड वाटर जो है it moves upwards. It moves upwards because of this, what we call as the capillary pull. So this was second one. First one is the cohesion and adhesive attraction, and we have got this mineral pull which helps us in the transportation of water, what we call as transportation of water to the topmost parts of the plant. लेकिन जो हम ये कहेंगे, this transportation of water, it is unidirectional, ये from roots up to the topmost parts of the plant. लेकिन जो हम देखते हैं कि transport of food, that is multi-direction. It moves from the leaves, the branches, यहाँ से ऊपर की ओर, नीचे की ओर, it is multi-directional. While as this water, it moves only in one direction. Again हम recapitulate कर लेंगे. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन पुल में क्या देखते हैं, वी हैव टू प्रोसेसेस. फर्स्ट वन इज कोहेसिव एंड एडहेसिव. अब हम यहाँ पर देखें 3 फोर्स आर, रूट प्रेशर भी है, कोहेसिव एंड एडहेसिव अट्रैक्शन है, कैपिलरी पुल है. दिस वाटर इज मूव्ड अप एंड इट क्रिएट्स ए सेक्शन हियर एंड दिस लीव. उससे जो हम देखते हैं कि कंटिन्यूअसली वाटर जो है, इट इज पंप्ड अपवर्ड्स टू द टॉप मोस्ट पार्ट्स ऑफ द लीव, एंड then this water, it moves through these capillary action. This was all about the today's topic. In the next video we will continue and we will first take up this how the mineral transport takes place. Until then, goodbye. God bless you. Thanks.